Hey folks, Dr. Rob Jones here, heydrrob.com with my good friend Lisa Allen. So we're going to use this segment today to kind of do a longer version of backbreakers. So my awesome wife Shannon introduced me to Orangetheory FITNESS, and I was of course skeptical because I'm not a big group fitness guy, and I'm a meathead. I like to lift and I like to do my own thing. But I will say, it was awesome. I had a great time. They have screens everywhere that show you where your heart rate is and should be targeted. It gives you what are called splat points, so you have a goal to reach. It was actually a lot of fun. I ended up running more than I've run in years. I typically joke that being an ex-hockey player, if I'm not doing short bursts and then resting, I'm not interested. So tennis appeals to me because I can sprint and rest. Same thing with playing volleyball, basketball, etc. Surfing, all those things I like to do. So this was actually a lot of running and a lot of cardio in the form of rowing. And the amazing thing was, even though I probably ran the equivalent of 6 or 7 miles, I didn't hurt at all. My knees didn't hurt, my feet didn't hurt. I thought I was going to be crushed, but they've actually got these special treadmills that give you a little bit more bounce. I don't know what they are, but I was actually really comfortable. But in general, I would give Orangetheory, at least the segment I did or the session I did, I would give it probably a B+. Okay, the reason I'm not giving it an A is because they did a bunch of backbreakers. So it's kind of a cardio / interval type deal. They put you on the equipment, the treadmill or the rowing machine, and then they have you break out into groups and do some floor work that involves, a kettlebell or a dumbbell, light of course, and then some core work on mats and medicine balls and that sort of thing. So I'm here to tell you that I flagged 3 or 4 backbreakers in the session I did. Now my wife told me, because she hears me incessantly talking about this and she's got some history of back issues. So she actually said, these are the modifications I make, and she did a great job. She did modify. So this is thanks to my awesome wife, Shannon. We're gonna do this with Lisa here. I'm gonna show you the modifications we made for these movements, okay? So the first one that they wanted us to do was take a medicine ball that was comfortable for us, and they wanted us to start. They didn't give us instructions on squats other than push your hips back and keep your head up. Well, we know squatting is a lot more complicated than that if you've watched any of our other videos, okay? You've got a multifactorial plethora of things that you've got to do. You've got to keep your knees to the side. You've got to push your hips back. You've got to keep your chest up, okay? And you also have to watch your depth. If you squat too deep, we've talked about it before, you're going to lose lordosis. You're going to get that little posterior pelvic tilt, and then you risk L5-S1 opening up, and you risk herniating a disc or irritating a previous disc bulge, etc. So basically, I'm going to have Lisa do what I modified. So what they wanted us to do was go all the way up, which is fine, and then they wanted us to come down. Don't do this, Lisa. They want us to come down, tap the ground with the medicine ball, and then go back up. Now again, if you've got amazing hip mobility and amazing lumbar stability, and you even know what hip mobility is, which most people don't, you really shouldn't be going down that deep, because again, your chest is going to drop. The average person is really stiff through the thoracic spine. They're not going to be able to stay upright through the squat. They're going to damage their backs, okay? So really what I modified was this. So we know about keeping the core tight. We know about packing the neck. We don't want to look up during a squat, okay? We're going to squat down, but what I did, come over this way just a little bit. What I did actually is what I always do with my deadlift is I inserted my arms between my knees this way, and I just used that distance right there. It was a little bit above 90, and then I went up into the upward push. So this is what we modified instead of touching the ground with the ball. So let's drop down, get your arms straight down, drop down a little bit more. Now come straight up, tension your core, go to your tippy toes, push that to the ceiling. So again, let's go down. We're not getting right to the floor. We're stopping about right there. Now remember, if you ever feel a stretch through here in your lower back, specifically when it's weighted, we don't want to feel that stretch, because that's the disc opening up and you're going to get some nuclear material working back this way. So let's do one more rep, okay? So we're gonna go into the ground. We're gonna bring the forearms in between the legs, pushing the knees open to clear space through here in the hips. We're gonna come up, we're gonna tension the core. We're gonna push up overhead, keeping the core tight. So there you go, there's fix number one for backbreaker number one, which was squatting too deep with that medicine ball. Okay, now backbreaker number two was full sit-ups, and you guys all know how I feel about sit-ups, okay? The number one backbreaker. Some people like to do them. The population I see clinically, I just don't ever recommend them because there's so many other good ways to work your core, so many more functional ways. And remember, sit-ups are 20% abs, 80% hip flexors. And unless you're really good at keeping lordosis, you're gonna actually round and basically end up herniating a disc. Okay, so instead of doing the sit-ups with the medicine ball, this is actually, again, my wife Shannon's modification, we did dying bug with the medicine ball. So, let's go into your basic dying bug position. So our setup for the dying bug, as you know from previous videos and books, is basically we're gonna pack that neck, we're gonna try and keep the ribs down, we're not flattening the lower back, we wanna keep some lordosis, okay? We're gonna take this medicine ball, now your basic dying bug is gonna be push the medicine ball to the ceiling, keep your core tension, and then just lower one leg, tap, and return. Let's do a couple more of those. Tap and return. The entire time we're keeping intra-abdominal pressure, we're not sucking the belly button back. We're keeping intra-abdominal pressure, expansion, only moving through the hip. Now Lisa's pretty strong, so this is pretty easy for her. So let's add a little bit of a challenge to this. Let's take the ball back this way a little bit, push it away. Okay, now we're getting more pull on the rectus abdominis here. And as she lowers her leg, there's a lot more tension in the eccentric or the stretching load of the rectus abdominis or your abs are having to work really hard. Not to mention with the ball back this way, now you're getting some nice thoracic stretch. Now if you want to make it harder even yet, let's go ahead and go ahead and drop one leg down, simultaneously take the ball back and then bring it up. Now let's alternate. Ball back, there you go, perfect. Let's get a couple more. Good. Bring that ball back a little further. Leg down. Good. Now, if we want to get, you want to take a little rest there? If you want to get even more complicated yet, or even more progressed, we can add an oblique movement to this. So we're getting some transverse plane or anterior oblique sling plane here. So let's go ahead and push that up again. Now what we're going to do is as her left leg lowers down, we're going to take this ball off to the side, and now you can see she's getting stretched through what's called the anterior oblique sling. Same thing on the other side here. So as her left leg goes down, the ball will come over the right shoulder. As the right leg goes down, the ball will come over the left shoulder. So there you go. Careful when you get up here. So there you go. There's backbreaker fix number two, not doing sit-ups, doing those dying bug alternatives. Now, much to my chagrin again, there was another backbreaker, which is called a V-up. Okay, and now, if you've hopefully been watching my previous videos and following me, you know that the job of the core is to stop the spine from moving. Okay, the job of the core is not to generate movement. It can generate movement, but if the spine is moving, it's going to break down. So if you look at the simple nature of a V-up, I don't even like doing these because they hurt my back. This is what they wanted us to do. Basically, we had a medicine ball and we were supposed to get into a V position and then come in and then go out. Come in and go out. Now, if you don't have a back problem, you know, you're one of those lucky ones, that 15% of the population, it's maybe going to be okay. But for the vast majority of us, it's not a very good move because it just overworks your hip flexors and it's just not very functional. So let's do basically an alternative to that. I'm actually going to do this because Lisa, God bless her, she's still dealing with some back issues. She's mostly better, but some of us can't do certain things. This is one of the ones she can't do. So I'm going to get this med ball, or you can use a weight, whatever's comfortable for you, and we're going to set up that same way. So basically, if you think about the V-up, it had you bringing your legs up. So all I'm going to do is hold this ball here, and I'm going to start on the ground with my legs. I'm going to keep my ribs down. I'm going to give myself intra-abdominal pressure, and I'm just going to bring this up to below 90 degrees, okay? Remember, if you watch my previous videos, I've said, if you bring your knees past 90 degrees, your pelvis is gonna rotate and it's gonna open up that bottom disc. So, all I'm gonna do is this. Ball's gonna go back, legs are gonna come up. So I'm getting a big stretch on my abs, big stretch on my thoracic spine, work on my abs and some hip flexors, but mostly abs to get up through here. Okay, now, if that is too hard for you, let's do one leg at a time. So this is going to be your alternative to your V-up. You can alternate. Okay, if you want to make it harder yet, let's go an oblique pattern. Okay, so I'll take my legs off to the side, I'll take the ball over my right shoulder, and then I'll come up. To go the other side, I'll take my legs off to the side, I'll take the ball over my left shoulder, and I'll come up. So there you go, those are alternatives for the V-up. Okay, so again, we're not moving the spine through a range of motion. We're locking the spine down with a good core contraction, with a good intra-abdominal brace, and we're moving the ball and socket joints of the shoulder, ball and socket joints of the hip. Okay, one last move. And of course, no core workout is complete without my number 2 backbreaker, the Russian twist. Everybody likes to do the Russian twist, right? Because it's going to shred your obliques. It's going to get rid of those love handles. But again, folks, we know there's no such thing as spot reduction, okay? If you want to get lean through here, you got to eat right, you got to move. The end, okay? You're not going to basically crunch away your love handles. It's a myth from half a century ago. What we'll do instead of a Russian twist is we'll do a simple upper thoracic rotation with our abs and our spine in a lockdown position. So what I'm going to instruct Lisa to do here is get into her dying bug position, which is always ribs down, intra-abdominal pressure. Okay, now we know from the stability mobility continuum that we've talked about, the thoracic spine is designed to move, the lumbar spine shouldn't move, especially under load. So all we're going to do here is instruct Lisa to come off to the side this way to push the dumbbell away so it gets away from her midline. And basically what's happening is her obliques on the opposite side are having to work like crazy to stop that weight from pulling her over. Okay, so let's do that again. Let's come out here. So she's getting a little bit of thoracic rotation. Hold that right there, hold it, hold it. Feeling her obliques, I can feel them pop right up into my hand. So this is safe because the lumbar spine isn't moving. It's being stopped by the obliques. She's actually getting a little thoracic and shoulder stretch, and that's okay because they're designed to move. How does that feel?
It's work.
Good. That's what it should be. Now, if we want to make it a little bit more challenging, let's go a little bit more obliquely. So we're going to come up over the shoulder here, again, holding the spine in place, and then bring it back. Now, the wall's going to get in the way here a little bit, but we're going to basically go back, try to get it over the opposite shoulder, and again, you can see the nature of what's happening with the obliques there. Okay, so there you go. There's our backbreaker review for Orangetheory Fitness. I'm going to do a few more of these along the way, so you folks know what you should and shouldn't do. Again, I'm not trying to trash Orangetheory. I thought it was great. I had fun. I had a really good workout. The instructor, Jordan, was fantastic. I'd highly recommend her. But again, the body that created this program needs to teach you guys a little bit better on how the core works so you can spare your spines. So quick review. Squatting, we're not going to go as deep. We're not going to touch that ball down unless you are familiar with hip mobility and you really know what good hip mobility is. Otherwise, you're basically just going to stop a little bit before the ground and make sure you don't feel a stretch here, okay? Number 2, the sit-ups. We're going to do dying bug variations instead, right? Number 3, the V-ups. We're going to stay away from those and we're going to do more dying bug variations with a straight leg. And then finally, those dreaded Russian twists, those backbreakers, we're going to take those out of the repertoire and we're going to take that dumbbell and do some thoracic rotation. So there you go. Safe back, great workout, no backbreakers. Hope you like this. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit us up on the socials at Hey Dr. Rob, Instagram and Facebook. Lisa Allen at
Lisa Allen Fitness.
Lisa Allen Fitness at Instagram and Facebook. And until next time, don't forget to protect your back. Bam.